Welcome to BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with BNEWS Director Rich Hosford, BNEWS reporters Tad Stefanak and Robert Paris, Peter Brown with the weather, Liz Gillespie with sports, Jolie Atwood with the community calendar, and Marge McDonald with senior news. Thank you for joining us. Massachusetts residents eligible to receive a COVID-19 vaccine will soon have a way of registering without continuously refreshing the state website or calling the vaccine hotline. The Baker administration announced on Wednesday a new pre-registration sign-up tool, which will be available for the state's 7 mass vaccination sites starting Friday, March 12th. The new system is designed to make it easier to request and book an appointment at a mass site at a nearby location when they are available. More sites will be added to the pre-registration system in the coming weeks. When pre-registration launched on Friday, it replaced the previous booking platforms for mass vaccination sites. The tool will be available at www.mass.gov/COVID vaccine. After completing the form, residents will get a confirmation via their preferred method of contact and receive a weekly update about their status. When an appointment becomes available at a vaccination site, the resident will be notified and will have 24 hours to accept the appointment once it is offered to them. If an appointment is not accepted after 24 hours, the resident will go back into the queue to wait for another appointment. Tuesday evening, the Burlington School Committee discussed changes made at the state level last week that will mandate a full return to school for 5 days a week. The Massachusetts Department of Elementary and Secondary Education met on Friday, March 5th, and voted to give Commissioner Jeffrey Riley that authority to determine when hybrid and remote models will no longer constitute structured learning time, and districts must return students to in-person instruction. During Monday's meeting, Superintendent Conti said the department had been told that elementary schools had to have full-time in-person instruction 5 times a week starting on Monday, April 5th. He said middle schools must offer the same by Wednesday, April 28th. The exact date for high schools has not been determined, and Conti said the department told districts they would be alerted 2 weeks ahead of time. His best guess, he said, was that the determination for high schools would be timed to be close to that of middle schools. Dr. Conti said principals in all the schools are already working on new schedules, and that while he is confident they can get everything ready in time, there could be some changes that need to be made. He said it is possible some students will have to change classrooms and even teachers. There were also questions from committee members about transportation. Despite the state changing its policy recently to allow buses to work at full capacity, Burlington has not changed from the initial limited bus policy it adopted at the start of the year. There was some discussion about safety protocols. Conti said the state has said that while students are wearing masks, they can be 3 feet apart. During activities that require masks to be taken off, such as eating lunch, they must be 6 feet apart. Because of that, and because much of the cafeteria space is being used as storage for extra desks and other furniture to allow more room to spread out in the classrooms, elementary students will eat in their classrooms. Finally, Superintendent Conti said the state will allow families who have chosen full remote to keep that mode for the rest of the school year, but any family who wishes to switch from full remote to in-person will have to be accommodated within 4 to 6 weeks. In related news, SHAWSHEEN Tech is also planning ahead for when State Commissioner of Education Riley announces high schools have to switch to full-day in-person learning 5 days a week. In a letter, Superintendent Director Bradford Jackson said that while the information is frustratingly vague, SHAWSHEEN is moving forward under the assumption they will be required to shift to full-time in-person instruction for all students 5 days per week before the end of the current school year. He adds SHAWSHEEN's current model of having all students only in person for their shop week has served the school well and offered students more face-to-face, hands-on learning opportunities than most high schools in Massachusetts. Jackson said he met with SHAWSHEEN's administrative team and they began to develop a plan to accommodate all students in person for both their academic and shop weeks. In addition, he said that he will be reaching out to the leadership of the SHAWSHEEN Teachers Association for their assistance and guidance in the planning process. In order to provide some clarity to the planning process, he established a target date for implementation of early May 2021. Rick Barry, a Burlington native who now lives in Australia, won big on Fox's reboot of the game Name That Tune. BNEWS director Rich Hosford spoke to him about the experience and has this look.
Amber, I can name that tune in 5 notes.
Whoa!
All right, Rick, name that tune.
Okay. Okay, Rick. For $10,000, here are your 5 notes. Name that tune, sir.
California Dreamin'.
California Dreamin' is correct by the Mamas of the Papa.
Burlington native and current Australian resident Rick Barry can name that tune, and he did just that on a show of that name. Rick was recently on the newest version of the show where he won an impressive $55,000. He has had a lifelong love of music, and when he saw a casting call for Americans living in Australia come up on his Facebook page, he decided to go for it.
Game shows have always been a part, not just Name This Tune, but, game shows of all kinds have always been a big part of our collective experience. I'd said, looks like a bit of fun, and just went from there.
Rick said he has loved music since he was a little kid listening to it in his family home. He was in the marching band in high school and would also play on his own. However, he said even he had to do a little bit of musical studying to prepare for the show.
Honestly, I just listened and listened. So I had a bit of time to just spend some time just watching, just putting up playlists on YouTube, just focusing on, sort of different areas, different genres I wasn't too familiar with. So, here's a bit that I don't really know a lot about. I don't listen to a lot of country music, so I tried to listen to a lot of country music in case there were topics in there. So just really saying, where are my weaknesses and where can I sort of, make sure that I'm sort of getting that stuff into my head.
Rick said he was also a fan of the 70s and 80s version of Name That Tune, so was especially excited to be on the new version of the show.
But I was a huge fan, just in the, I was probably maybe like 8 or 9 years old, and we'd sort of sitting on the floor, just watching it. It was a lot of fun.
So what is it like to be competing on the show?
Fantastic. Jane and Randy were absolutely lovely to work with. They just made you feel really comfortable, and all the crew and everything were really good. They sort of walk you through, here's what you need to know, here's how it's all going to play out. Really quite a comfortable environment. A little overwhelming when you first walk on stage, but it's quite nice, really.
Rick said he was mostly able to keep his nerves calm.
There are a couple of times, when I got to the point where it's like, okay, now I'm competing for the big money, it's like a little bit of nerves sort of come in there, but it was still, I just told myself, I'm going to have fun with this no matter what.
Rick added that winning in front of a live audience and then the whole world has been quite the experience.
It was an amazing feeling. It's like, oh wow. It's like, this is actually real. So it was great. I had so many friends and family and everyone just commenting on, oh my God, you look amazing. And it was really a lot of fun. I watched it with some friends here and we just really, really enjoyed it.
Finally, I asked if he had any special plans for his winnings.
I've always been a huge traveler. I've really been fortunate to travel a lot. One of the places that's been on my list that I haven't got to yet is I want to go to Antarctica. So we're going to plan a trip down there. Once travel opens up again, we really would like to get down, spend some time in Antarctica.
On a Zoom call with Name That Tune winner Rick Barry, I'm BNEWS director Rich Hosford.
The Board of Selectmen will consider a proposal to change the town's alcohol policies for restaurants in an attempt to attract more family-owned small businesses. The proposal was put forward by Chairman Joe Morandi and Selectman Bob Hogan, who are the board members on the alcohol subcommittee. Morandi explained that currently the town policy states that a restaurant must have at least 120 seats to qualify for an all-alcohol license and 40 seats for a beer and wine license. That high number, he said, can be limiting for smaller businesses. The town is trying to encourage small mom-and-pop restaurants to open in the downtown area, and he argued nobody would try to open a 120-seat establishment in that part of town. Other members of the board seemed open to the changing the policy. However, the board decided not to have a vote during Monday night's meeting, as it was the first time the proposal was discussed publicly. They voted unanimously to continue the public hearing to the next meeting on March 22nd. The Burlington Fire Department has a new firefighter paramedic, but it is a familiar face. On Monday evening, Assistant Town Administrator John Denizio appointed current Fire Department dispatcher Thomas Cardwell to the position of firefighter paramedic at the recommendation of Chief Mike Patterson during the Board of Selectmen meeting. The board voted unanimously to waive the standard 15-day waiting period for new hires. Chief Patterson said Caldwell is a Burlington resident, a member of the Burlington High School class of 2008. He's been a civilian fire dispatcher with the department since July 19 and previously was an EMT supervisor at Action Ambulance Service. He is a graduate of Salem State University, where he earned a Bachelor of Science in Criminal Justice. Patterson added that Caldwell is a certified emergency medical dispatcher, has earned his paramedic certificate through Northern Essex Community College, and completed his required paramedic ride time hours at Burlington Fire Department, where he worked closely with the firefighter paramedics on the ambulance. He is a nationally registered paramedic, Mass Certified Paramedic, and is ACLS and PALS certified. That's Advanced Cardiac and Advanced Pediatric Advanced Life Support. Patterson said Caldwell has done a great job as a dispatcher over the past 20 months and is well liked and respected by fellow firefighters. Members of the board welcome the new firefighter. Here is Chairman Joe Morandi, who says he has known Caldwell for many years.
I'd just like to say, you're a great kid, you deserve this. I remember when you were very small, coming to the shop with your little fire boots on and your little hat, and I always wanted to be a fireman from day one. I think your mother might have some pictures of those, so I'd hide them if I was you, just in case the fire department gets a hold of them. And birthdays are coming up. Who knows what's going to happen. So, but anyway, Thomas, I couldn't be proud of you. I think that's fantastic. You've always wanted to do this job, and your grandfather would be very, very proud of you right now. He was a great guy. He was a great fireman. He was a heck of a guy. So, kudos to you and your mother. Hope everything goes well, and congratulations on this.
The Board of Selectmen approved 2 projects intended to improve the landlocked forest during Monday night's meeting. The first was the mowing of the meadow in the forest. Martha Simon, a member of the Friends of the Landlocked Forest group, said they wanted to schedule the annual mowing of the meadow as both a way of maintaining land and to give people a nice place to visit. The mowing, which will be done with the help of volunteers, is scheduled for April 24 with a rain date of May 1st. This will be the 5th year the meadow has been maintained, and Simon said each time it gets easier for those doing the work. The board approved the mowing project unanimously. The second project was to move a trail on the border with Lexington that had been disrupted due to a residential housing project. The trail had been on long unused private land that had been recently developed. The trail work will be done by volunteers with the organization New England Mountain Bike Association, with funds from the developer of the residential project. Ed Parsons, a member of NEMBA, said that because the new trail would be in close proximity to wetlands, the group will go to the Conservation Committee to work out the details. The board also voted unanimously to approve this project. Mindfulness and meditation have become an increasingly popular form of healthcare. Our partners at Lifetime Burlington share how mindfulness and yoga can be part of your overall health. Let's have a look.
Normal temperature.
Mindfulness, especially after such an intense year, and even the start of 2021, things have just been intense. And in general, life is intense. There's always so many things that are happening around us. Mindfulness is taking a step back and focusing inward, noticing what you're feeling, noticing the thoughts in your mind, and making those observations and noticing it without judgment or interpretation. Just noticing, simply that. There are many reasons to want to do yoga. The physical and mental benefits are very important as far as increased flexibility and strength. For mental toughness, to just create a little more mindfulness and stillness throughout your day. Just take a few moments to just slow down, breathe into your body, move into your body. Yoga is good for stress management in that it gives you just a little bit of a different perspective, to slow down, to take a few deep breaths, and to kind of reevaluate kind of what your stressors are and how to navigate through them. Breathing techniques. A lot of us take shallow breaths and we only breathe into our chest rather than using the full capacity of our lungs and taking deep breaths, using that muscle, the diaphragm, to take deep breaths. So focusing on breathing techniques can help to lower your heart rate, reduce stress levels, and just overall create a sense of relaxation. And these days, it's hard to breathe in general through our day-to-day, through all the challenges, all the good stuff, all the not so good stuff. And now added on to this, we have this layer over our face, and you can't help but notice your breath a little bit more or notice that you're breathing a little more shallow. So if anything, it's another reminder to slow down, take a few more deep breaths. Energizing breath. If you're looking to just kind of jump into action, take a deep breath in through your nose, and then you use the muscles in your belly to exhale. Yeah, so you just breathe in through your nose and just use your muscles to exhale.
I've received a lot of feedback from a lot of our members who come and take classes here, that to be able to supplement some of their workouts at home through live streaming, that it's been a gift for them. We really work to create a very safe and inclusive environment here where you come in as you are. It really doesn't matter. And I say, you showed up, you made it to your mat, that's the hardest part. Are you ready to just focus on your breathing? Yes? Great, let's do this. Everything else, the movements, that's all secondary.
Yoga is truly for anybody. It does not matter your age, your activity level. There's a space for you. If you're ready to come in and challenge yourself by focusing on your breathing, which can be hard, you can find a place on your yoga mat.
Be mindful not to knock those candles over. That could ruin the mood. The pandemic wasn't going to stop Burlington Cub Scouts from carrying out the tradition of racing homemade cars in the Pinewood Derby, though it did change how it was run this year. Packs 105 and 555 held a virtual Pinewood Derby this past Saturday. The track was set up in the UCC Church, and the races were broadcast live by BCAT. Assistant Cub Master for Pack 105, Linda McNamee, who also coordinated the event, said she felt the event went incredibly well and was happy to be able to provide the Cubs the experience, even if it was different than normal. Along with racing their own cars, the fourth grade Weeblos helped BCAT's own Chris Flaherty with production of the live streaming. They acted as commentators, camera operators, and runners. McNamee said she felt this could help those Cubs feel more involved in the event. She also said she appreciated the help in covering the event so Scouts and their families could watch it from home. It may be March, but local high schools are playing fall sports. The Modified Fall Season Part 2 began last week, and for a look at the early action, we go to BNEWS sports reporter Liz Gillespie for this week's sports report.
Hey everyone, I'm Liz Gillespie, and this is your weekly sports report. Fall Session 2 has begun for the Red Devils, and for more on that, we go to BNews sports reporter Robert Paris.
Session 2 is underway here at Burlington High School, and teams are thrilled to be back.
So again, we got a nice jump-off point by having, getting some people back in the stands for our senior games in the winter, and through some conversation and understanding how to, get some things set up a little differently. Having the parents back and getting ready for fall 2 is we already kind of had some pieces in place to get it done.
6 teams will be playing their seasons a little differently.
So our girls swimming, they're going to be swimming over at the North Suburban YMCA. We'll have football here at the high school. We'll have volleyball here at the high school. Cheerleading will be here. Indoor boys and girls track, which will be like a hybrid scenario where they won't be running indoors. Even though it's indoors, they'll be running all their meets outside, but using the same rules and the same distances outside.
A couple of the coaches are looking forward to seeing what the season will bring.
I think it's been hard for the kids to take off such a long break due to the pandemic, but I think we're all super excited that we're back and grateful that we have a season and the kids can play. So we're hoping for a really good season. We can get through the whole thing without having any issues.
It was a long wait. Normally we kind of roll from season to season, from cross country to indoor to spring with a limited amount of time off. We finished cross country middle of November, so we've had whatever that is, 3 months off. So trying to get back into shape for some kids, and for some kids, they haven't done much in potentially up to a year.
Yeah, it was 15 months before we got back on the field, so it was a long time. This was long overdue. It's the longest I've ever gone since I was 8 years old without having football. So it was really great to get out here on the field and get running around again and being able to have the opportunity to coach football.
As session 2 begins, the athletic department has always been keeping athletes and coaches safe throughout all the modified seasons.
The 10-week seasons that have kind of been happening have prepared us to hopefully get outside in the spring and have as much as we can do. Having the fall 2 season here is phenomenal. It's going to be a little different because we have never played sports under this kind of scenario. But you know what? Like, if it works like it did today, we're off to a great start.
From Burlington High School, I'm Robert Paris for BNEWS Sports.
Girls volleyball faced off against the Wilmington Wildcats on Saturday, March 6th, and we have some highlights.
Girls varsity volleyball was back on the court on Saturday, March 6th for their home opener against the Wilmington Wildcats. Let's get to the action. In the first set, the Wildcats were dominant, as they were the first team to reach 25 points. The Devils only scored 20. Wilmington took the set lead 1-0. Second set, the Red Devils had a big momentum shift as they outscored Wilmington 25-17. The set score was tied 1-1. Third set, Burlington kept it going with a 25-15 win. The Red Devils were leading in the sets 2-1. Now in the fourth set, it was sudden death for Wilmington as they had to win the set to continue. However, Burlington was the first to take it to 25 points, while the Wildcats came up short with 20. Final set score, 3-1, Red Devils. We had a chance to speak with first-year varsity coach Seaman after the game.
I think we finished really well. Super excited of how we finished off in our first game with the W. So it was a great start for our season.
Burlington starts the season at 1-0 and will face the Wildcats again on Saturday, March 13th at Wilmington High School. Boys football and girls and boys indoor track will begin on Saturday, March 20th. For more Red Devil action, go to the BNews Sports Hub section at bcattv.org and check out the BNews Sports Twitter page. And that's all for your weekly sports report. I'm Liz Gillespie. Back to you guys in the studio.
We go now to BNews weatherman Peter Brown for a look at this week's forecast. We'll also check out the community calendar with Jolie Atwood to see what's happening in Burlington.
Well, hello everyone. This is Peter Brown to look at your weather for the next 7 days. Here we are heading into the last stretches of winter. I know that's great news. We actually have some really nice weather to begin out your period. It's going to be really warm out there to start out on Friday. As you can see here on our almanac, temperatures are going to be in the mid-60s. That's going to be followed, though, however, in the afternoon by a pretty sharp cold front. It's going to bring our temperatures way back down to the 30s. So we're going to be into some below average temperatures, it looks, for this week coming up for most of the period. Nothing terrible. It doesn't look like there's going to be any snow accompanying that either, so that's some great news at least. As we round out our period getting into the Thursday time frame, our average highs at this time of the year should be in the upper 40s, and we're pretty much going to be around there, maybe up in the low 50s with the chance of maybe some light rain. As you notice, look at how long the days are getting. And we also want to point out, make sure before you go to sleep this coming Saturday night that you turn your clocks ahead 1 hour as we go into daylight savings time. I know it's hard to believe that that's back, but it is definitely back in force, meaning that we are going to be having some much later sunsets. So that's great if you have to be out and about in the evening in the Burlington area. So as we go ahead, let's take a look what the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us in terms of temperatures and precipitation for the next 7 days. And looking at our temperature map, again, nothing too surprising from what we've been seeing the past couple of days here in the Burlington area. Again, it's going to be slightly above average for temperatures, and that's going to be noted, of course, going into Friday. And then as we get on to it's the tail end of our period next Thursday. But for the most of the period, though, it looks like it's going to be a few degrees below average again. So it looks like the weather conditions that we had in February are going to still be staying with us here as we head towards the very end of winter. Now, as we go ahead and look at our chances for precipitation, the Climate Prediction Center is calling for us here in the Burlington area to have near or slightly above average precipitation, and that's probably going to be reflected in the small rainstorm that we have maybe coming up here around the Thursday timeframe. So we'll keep an eye out that. It doesn't look like we're going to be seeing any of the white stuff out there, so that is great news. So let's go ahead and take a look at those 7 days of weather coming up. And again, starting out our period on Friday, temperatures way up in the mid-60s. Another beautiful day here in the Burlington area. That is going to be cut through, though, by a very powerful Arctic cold front in the afternoon. And by Friday evening, you are going to notice the change in air mass as we head back down into the deep freeze, at least for the deep freeze in terms of the middle of March. As we get into the weekend, look at this. Our highs are going down into the 40s and down into the 30s by Sunday. And look at the morning lows. We actually may have some near record lows as we head into the middle of next week as a strong high pressure center moves right over the Burlington area. Temperatures way down the mid-teens. So definitely keep the heavy coats handy. And again, as we round out our period getting into the Wednesday and Thursday time frame, our temperatures start to get back up to about average and actually above average with that chance of rain coming in here on Thursday. Again, everyone, once more another reminder, remember to set your clocks ahead 1 hour before you go to sleep on Saturday night. So everyone, get out there, enjoy the weather, and have a great week.
Hi, I'm Julie Atwood, and this is your community calendar. Top of the morning to ya! Through March 17th, the Burlington Parks and Recreation Department is having an event called Leprechaun on the Loose. Each morning at 10 a.m., look for clues on the Parks and Recreation's social media platforms, and you could win prizes if you find the gold. For more information, go to burlingtonrecreation.org. Come and see all the sights and sounds of the zoo. The Stone Zoo is offering winter visits. The zoo is open from 9 a.m. to 4 p.m., and the last entry is at 3 p.m. For more information and to buy tickets, go to zoonewengland.org. It is time to design and create. Also on March 17th at 7 p.m., the Burlington Public Library is having a virtual teen event called Edible Mosaic Art. Grades 6 through 12 are welcome, and supplies will be available at curbside pickup. Pre-registration is required. To register and for more info, go to burlingtonpubliclibrary.org. I'm Jolie Atwood, and that was your community calendar.
We are now 1 year into the pandemic, and Council on Aging Marge McDonald has some thoughts on the milestone. We go to her now for the latest senior news.
1 year ago today, on the morning of March 12th, I made the incredibly painful decision to close the senior center. It broke my heart, and I am so grateful I didn't know how long we would be closed. Days turned into weeks and then months as we tried to stay safe and help deliver meals to our most vulnerable and organized matches between volunteers and those who needed someone to go shopping for them, and met with those few clients that really needed our help face to face. We managed to get a few things online and started doing grab-and-goes where seniors drive up and we give them food, treats, or whatever in order to keep an eye on them and make sure they were doing okay, as well as giving them a safe interaction, however brief, with other people face to face. We are told by those that participate that it wasn't the food we gave out, it was the outing, or seeing us that was really the treat. We feel the same way. For some, it was their only outing for months on end. It has been a horrible year for all of us, but we are resilient, and there really is a light at the end of the tunnel. It feels like we keep picking up more speed as we go along. I was feeling really sad last week with the 1 year anniversary coming up, but then all of a sudden, our opening projection seemed to also speed up, and I found myself making plans and trying to figure out how and when to open while following all the new rules. It was energizing, and I realized my mood had lifted completely. But I also have some trepidation, knowing that as we move toward normal, we are going to realize how many we have lost from our community. We are still here, and we need to celebrate that we made it through. Opening will not be what it was before. We will start outside and then have a couple things inside, far apart in time so there's no overlapping of folks coming in and out. But we will begin, and before we know it, this nightmare of loneliness and isolation will be in our rearview mirror, and just a memory hopefully tucked away as we begin to once again connect with the world outside. I do want to thank everyone who stepped up to help us this past year. I know we didn't use everyone, but we appreciate you offering. I also know there were a lot of people checking in on their neighbors to see if they needed anything. Noted, and thank you. I also want to thank all of the kids that sent cards to us to give to the seniors. It was so lovely to know that the children were so understanding of what our older residents were going through. I feel so blessed to work for a town that cares for its neighbors and for the vulnerable, and I am grateful to all of you. I'm Marge McDonald. Stay safe, socially distanced and masked, and we'll see you soon as we outline how we're going to reopen. Thank you.
Another week, another photo to highlight. This week's photo is another that captures the beauty of nature. It was sent in by Gwyneth McNamee and shows an orange and red sunset she captured from the kitchen window of her Burlington home. Thank you for the photo, Gwyneth. We'd like to see your photos. They could be of your spring activities, a family trip, about just everyday moments, whatever you think is interesting and want to share. Email your photos to bcat@bcattv.org with the subject line Photo of the Week. Okay, that's it from the news desk here at BNEWS Weekly. I'm Phil Gallagher along with Rich Hosford, Tad Stefanak, Robert Paris, Peter Brown, Liz Gillespie, Jolie Atwood, and Marge McDonald. Thank you for joining us.